Hello, I'm Dr. Kevin Hudson. Going to be speaking to you today about hypertension. That's high blood pressure. We typically define that as being a blood pressure of 130/80 or higher. That's the ideal blood pressure we want to be, and particularly with people that have other problems that we're going to get into in just a moment, we sometimes shoot to even make that number lower than that. But hypertension or high blood pressure is called a silent killer because it doesn't necessarily cause symptoms, but yet without the symptoms, you still have a substantial risk of heart attack and stroke. There's lots of risk factors that go along with high blood pressure that cause increased incidence of both the hypertension and complications associated with it. So we have risk factors that are modifiable that we can do something about. And you've already heard about diet, lowering the sodium in the diet to make blood pressure more improved. Inactivity and exercise that you've heard about is important as well. Obesity is a very strong positive predictor for developing hypertension. And the activity and the diet are directly responsible for obesity increasing and then therefore making our blood pressure go higher. Tobacco use is probably one of the strongest things that will cause blood pressure to be stimulated and go higher because of the stimulant properties of tobacco smoke. That also increases vascular disease. Someone that's very stressed on a chronic basis, that can be good stress or bad stress, but someone that constantly is stimulated will raise their blood pressure as well. I tell people that you can have pain as a stressor. I can take a hammer and hit your toe, your blood pressure and your heart rate will go up. I can take a gun and point it at your head. You'll be stressed, you're about to die. That causes the fight or flight response that releases hormones in our system that drive our blood pressure up and cause our heart rate to go up. We can have other things that are not specific stimulants like alcohol, excess alcohol use, that also tends to affect blood pressure and make a lot of other metabolic things problematic. Now we have other factors that are not so easily modifiable. As we advance in age causes the average blood pressure to go up. So we tend to see higher incidence of hypertension or high blood pressure in older individuals. People that have family history of hypertension or genetics that are involved in that, particularly in certain minorities. African Americans tend to have a higher incidence of hypertension than non-African Americans. Sleep apnea is another driver for the presence of hypertension. We need to be treating that, and we can affect sleep apnea. Weight loss has impacts on that. Use of CPAP or other things to keep the obstruction from occurring is very important. Proper ways and amounts of sleep that we don't get into problems with having obstructive sleep apnea. So diabetes mellitus and chronic kidney disease is another other disease that modifies that and causes a higher risk of events. So what does this high blood pressure do? If we have high blood pressure and we don't stick to our diet and reduce our salt, and we don't exercise regularly, and we don't stop smoking, and we don't make our obesity disappear, and we don't control our stress or excess alcohol use, what's the problem? What's it going to do? We dramatically increase the risk of heart attack and stroke. We cause worsening chronic kidney disease, which can lead to renal failure. We have aneurysms in our body that we maybe had from a genetic point of view, but high blood pressure tends to make those more likely to rupture. If it's in your abdominal cavity, you can have severe bleeding and even death from rupture of an aneurysm. If it's intracranial, it causes a bleed in the head that causes a stroke. So there's other factors that go into things with hypertension. Metabolic syndrome is part of a group of problems that with hypertension increase that risk of heart attack and stroke. and that's associated with diabetes. So in all of those things, it's very important that we control our blood pressure and do the things that we can do to reduce that risk, because it's a catastrophic thing and it can happen without any symptoms leading into it. So thank you for your time today. And if you got any questions, please ask your caregiver. They can talk to you more about this. And if necessary, we can use medications to have an effect on that if needed. So please make your health your top priority.